Okay, so Bachapati will start with conservation of plants and animals. What do we actually mean by conservation? Any idea? Protecting. Hmm? Protecting. Why? Why do we need protecting? Protecting. Okay. फ्यूचर यूज क्यों फ्यूचर यूज क्यों चाहिए फ्यूचर यूज ओके फ्यूचर जनरेशंस के लिए फ्यूचर जनरेशंस के लिए सो वी इफ वी आर basically preserving things for future generations. Okay, see, as Mahatma Gandhi said that nature has provided us everything which it would fulfill our need, but nature cannot fulfill our greed. Okay, there's a difference between need and greed. There's a difference between need and greed. Need means what you need, which is necessary to sustain your life. Okay, and greed means something that you want to acquire at any cost, whether it is fulfilling your, whether it is benefiting you or not. You want it at any cost. Okay, a very common example, if you happen to actually look forth into everything that is there in your house, everything, okay, you will see that almost 80 to 90% of the things are not needed or required. What's okay. Okay, sorry. So we have here. So basically, there is a difference between need and greed. So nature has enough to fulfill our needs, but it doesn't have enough to fulfill our greeds. Okay, greed means something that we would acquire at any cost. So let's say, for example, if you happen to look around at all the things that are there in your house, okay, all the things that are there in our house, you will find that almost 80 to 90% of the things are not required by you. Almost 80 to 90%. They are just there. Once upon a time you had purchased them, and maybe once upon a time you have used them, but right now they are not in use. Okay, look around at any room, look around at any place in your house, you will find that. So what is this actually? We are into excessive mode of consumption. Consumption. Everything is getting produced. We want to make our lives easy, but in this race for consumption, somehow we are losing the touch to preserve nature. Okay, for example, coal, or let's say petroleum, which you have already studied, or any kind of fuel, it takes approximately millions of years to produce them. But what has happened is, in the last 100 years since fuel was discovered, we have used it so much that right now we are running short of fuel. So this fuel, which was actually produced by the decomposition of plants and animals for so many years together, now we are finding it difficult to actually preserve it. Okay, now we are finding it difficult to actually preserve it. Are we clear on this? So it took millions of years to produce the fuel, which is almost on an exhaustive mode today, which is almost today. Are we clear on this one, people? Okay. So this is what would need a judgment from our end, that we need to preserve this. Okay, we need to preserve this, and we need to ensure that it is there, so that the next generation will take advantage of this. Okay, just one moment. So the next generation can take advantage of this. Okay, now let's look at this. A great variety of plants and animals exist on Earth. Obviously, there is a great variety of both plants and animals which exist on Earth. They are essential for well-being and survival of mankind. So all these plants and animals which you see here, they are essential for well-being and survival of mankind. So uh, Einstein has said that if all of a sudden honeybees disappear from the world, the human race is going to go extinct in 4 years. Honeybees. If honeybees, which is a very small creature, a common thing, if they disappear from this world, if they happen to disappear from this world for whatever reasons, human species will disappear in 4 years. Now, what is the connection? The connection here is all sorts of pollinations that are happening for flowers, fruits, etc. They happen due to honeybees. So honeybees happen to sit from one flower to another in order to get nectar. And when they do so, they are actually transferring the pollen grains. The pollen get transferred, pollination happens, due to pollination fruits form, due to forming of fruits, seeds form, and you see again plants are basically born. Pollination happens. Now, what we say is that all things, see, let's say nature gives us cotton, nature gives us, silk, nature gives us wool, okay? Nature gives us so many types of vegetables, fruits, etc. Nature gives us so many types of pulses. All these are obtained nature. So there has to be a balance between how we use nature. If we are not able to maintain this balance, very soon we are going to be on the verge of exploiting nature. In fact, we are. Okay, we are. Okay, so all these things that get from nature, let's say for building house or for building furniture, we use wood. Okay, all these things are basically, there are medicines that are produced by, there are so many medicines that are produced by herbs that are there. Okay, so there's so much use for nature. So today major threat of survival of these organisms is deforestation. So there's so many organisms, and the major threat today is deforestation. There's so many fruits, there's so many animals that are dependent on plants, there's so many birds which actually make their nest or rather live in trees. All of them are going to go extinct if we happen to do an illogical deforestation. So what is basically deforestation? Coming from trees, cutting furniture. So deforestation is being done on an extensive scale, and the result is that we are losing all types of animals and species at a very fast rate. Okay, we know deforestation means clearing of forest and using that land for other purposes. So obviously for agriculture or for mining or for human rehabilitation. So all these things are being done at a very fast scale. Okay. So let us talk about the causes of deforestation. What could be the causes of deforestation? Trees in the forest are cut for some of the purposes mentioned below. So what are the purposes that are there for the cutting down of trees? Procuring land for cultivation. We need the forest to be clear to exploitation. We cut down trees so that we can plant crops which will only fulfill the needs of the human race, not others. So we will build basically farmhouses or basically farms so that we can grow crops and sell and earn money. Procuring for cultivation, building houses and factories. Obviously, forests are cut down to build houses and obviously to build factories as well. We would need land for all these purposes. Okay, making furniture. So the wood that we cut during deforestation is actually made as well. Okay, so all these things are continuously happening. Using wood as fuel in many places where LP connections are not there or people don't prefer to, so they will use wood for cooking or whatever purposes. Okay, burning wood. Some natural causes of deforestation are forest fire and severe droughts. Now these are nature-related causes. Okay, so at times when it's a summer season and the winds are blowing very severely, what happens is that these dry leaves, they will brush against each other. Okay, one tree and these dry leaves are continuously brushing each other, and due to this brushing, fire is produced. And this fire is out because the leaves are generally dry, and dry leaves catch fire very fast. They are as good as fuel. Okay, so the entire forest gets burned down. Now this is not a human cause, but it will impact the jungle life. Definitely it will impact. Okay, so this is basically a natural cause. Forest fire, many animals lose their lives, obviously many plants lose their lives, but excessive amount of deforestation happens. Okay, so deforestation, some natural causes of deforestation are forest fires and severe droughts. Severe droughts mean that temperatures are very high, no rainfall or absolutely no rainfall at all. Dry seasons. Okay, so these mean droughts or famines. Then when it goes severely, when it's a drought season means no rainfall at all. What will happen? The vegetation will dry out. There will not be enough of vegetation for animals to feed on. Animals are not enough of things to feed on, obviously as well. Okay, so this is how the species goes extinct, but this is natural. Okay, we will see human causes as well. Some natural causes of deforestation are fires and droughts. These are basically droughts. When rainfall is very scanty, or the rainfall doesn't happen at all. So this is basically a drought season. Okay, this is basically drought. Okay. So what are the consequences? Deforestation, what would be consequences? Okay, if excessive deforestation happens, what are the consequences? Temperature and pollution level on Earth. Deforestation will increase the temperature and pollution level on Earth. Why will the temperature increase? See, what do the plants do? They absorb carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is emitted by humans. Carbon dioxide is emitted by burning of fuels. So all this carbon dioxide, the plants absorb those carbon dioxide. Okay, now if they have this carbon dioxide, and if we cut them down, what will happen? Carbon dioxide will be excess. Now, when carbon dioxide is a property of absorbing heat. Okay, so carbon dioxide will do what, bacha bati? Carbon dioxide absorbs heat. Carbon dioxide absorbs heat, and when carbon dioxide absorbs heat, it makes the temperature higher. Okay, so deforestation increases temperature. Deforestation will do what? It increases the temperature. Why the temperature increase? Because obviously carbon dioxide, which is being given out by all plants and animals, as well as burning of fuels, okay, this will excess and this will not go down. Now, when the temperature increases, what will be the consequences? The glaciers, ice glaciers will start melting at a faster rate. Because see, carbon dioxide, this basically, let's say the surface of Earth. Okay, this is the sun. Sun's rays falling on Earth. What happens? Sun's rays fall on Earth. Some of it is absorbed and is absorbed. This is the Earth, and this is the sun. The sun's rays are falling. Some of it is absorbed, and the other part is reflected. So the reflected part should go to the space. What happens is, in our atmosphere is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide basically traps heat. Okay, it doesn't allow the heat to go back into the space. Now understand, if I have, let's say, 50 odd students out here, and I have not switched on the AC, what will happen? You will feel hot. Why are you feeling hot? In spite of the fans running, still why you feel hot? Because people are exhaling out carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is not getting an outlet to what happens? It will trap heat energy. Our bodies are using heat, so this will get trapped, and that's the reason you will feel hot. Okay, so carbon dioxide has a property of trapping heat. It will not allow this heat to escape into the space. It will trap this heat. Okay. Now, when in the atmosphere, the percentage of carbon dioxide is going higher. Why will it go higher? Because the plants or the trees, which will supposedly absorb the carbon dioxide to prepare their own food, we are basically cutting them down, and massive deforestation is happening. Because what will happen? Because the carbon dioxide will go in excess, and because a lot of heat entrapment will happen. Okay. Now, when this heat entrapment happens, what happens? Glaciers start to melt. Glaciers start to melt. The glaciers will start to melt. Okay. And there will not be enough space. Glaciers will start to melt. Now, this is the situation which is getting created. Okay, glaciers will start to glaciers summit at fast rate. Sea levels go high. Okay, because ultimately glaciers form rivers, and this water basically goes into the sea. Now, what is happening is that nature is maintaining. Glaciers are melting. There is an amount of water goes into the sea. This water is evaporated. This evaporated falls down in terms of rain. Again, the glacier. This is basically a cycle which is going on. However, if the glaciers are melting at a faster rate, there will be a huge volume of water inflowing into the sea. And if that happens, then the coastal areas between the sea will be submerged. Mumbai is a coastal area. This will is at risk of getting submerged. Okay. So this is something that will happen. Okay. So it is the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the level of carbon dioxide obviously is by deforestation. If you cut down trees, what will happen? Trees are the agents of carbon dioxide. Agents are down. What will happen? The levels of carbon dioxide will go high. And if the levels of carbon dioxide goes high, then heat entrapment. Then the heat which was supposedly emit radiation and it was supposed to go into space will not be able to go to space. Will get in Earth itself. Okay. So carbon dioxide number level also gets lower. What happens when the trees have roots? These roots are going deep inside the earth. When you cut down a tree, obviously the root is also gone. Okay. Now, when these roots go deep inside the earth, they pull the water towards them. They suction the water. Okay. However, when you cut down trees, this water will go down. The water which is being put to the surface by trees trees have become. So what will happen? This water will now go down. See, it's like a pipe. You have a bucket of water. You have inserted a pipe and you are pulling it with your mouth, let's say. So when you stop pulling it, what will happen? The water will go down. Okay. The same way, roots of leaves are inside the earth. They are pulling this water. Trees need water, so they are pulling this water. They are creating this water. However, if you cut down the trees, then this will not happen. The ground waters will go down. Will go down into the earth. Okay. Ground level will go down, and there will be a scarcity of water. As deforestation reduces the number of trees, the roots of the trees hold water along with them. But if you cut down the tree, what will happen? This water will percolate and will go down further. Okay. As deforestation reduces the number of trees and roots of trees hold rainwater. So obviously, what will happen now? This rainwater will go down. It will percolate inside the soil, and the ground level, the groundwater will actually fall down. The level of groundwater will fall down. What do you get from groundwater? What do you get from groundwater? Why do you want it to be up and not going down? No, forget about the trees. How is groundwater benefiting you? Most of the places get their water supply from groundwater. First thing, okay, wells that you dig or hand pumps that are used, They are all pulling out what? Groundwater only. Okay. So if this groundwater goes down, then you will have to go further down to fetch water. Okay. So since these roots are holding on, these roots are holding on to the water and they are getting a suction pull on the water, so the water is intact. If all these trees are cut, the water will percolate deeper. Okay. So the groundwater levels will go down. Okay, deforestation disturbs the balance in nature. Obviously, the balance in nature. There are so many species that are dependent on trees and different plants. If you happen to ruthlessly cut all these trees and plants for your own benefits, what will happen? You will lose so many species because that is the habitat for them. If you are cutting down their habitat, they will have nowhere to go. Okay, so they will all perish. If cutting down of trees continues, rainfall and fertility of the soil will also decrease. Why will this happen? See, there is a process in plants which is called transpiration. Now, let's say this is basically the leaf. Okay, a plant or a tree basically has a leaf. What happens in the leaf? Manufacturing of food happens. Okay, now manufacturing of food happens. So photosynthesis happens. Photosynthesis is what? Absorption of carbon dioxide and water in order to produce glucose. That is food, and release of oxygen. This happens during photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water from the roots gets pulled up. Food is formed and oxygen is released. This is photosynthesis. Now, when this water, where is it coming from? It is from the roots. It is pulled and goes to the leaves. Okay. Now it goes into the leaves. Some amount of water is used up in the process of photosynthesis, and some amount of water is actually evaporated. Okay. Let's say during the summer season, if you stand below shade, let's say it's a tin shade. Okay, you are standing below a shade, and if you are standing on a tree, where will you feel a little cooler? The tin shade or the tree? Why cooler? Because under the tree, this water from the leaves is evaporating. That is the shower-like thing or a shower-like effect which is getting created on you. It's a shower-like, whatever is falling on you like a shower. You feel this coolness is coming because there are so many leaves which are losing water. Because leaves have stomatal openings, small openings, and it is important for them to lose water. Why? Because this will maintain the pull. See, leaves do not have a circulatory system like us. They do not have a heart. They do not have a brain. Their entire process is mechanical. So, if you see, when you pull water, what do? You actually you pull up air, and that's how the water goes up. If you're storing up air, what will happen? Right? Same as air. When you lose water vapor, the pull is maintained. It's called the transpiration pull. In order for the water to go high up into the leaves, where they will be able to manufacture the food, there is a transpiration pull that needs maintained. And this transpiration pull is maintained if the water happens to be continuously off two stomatal openings. If this process stops, then water will not go up. This water is not going to go up. If the stomatal openings close, then water will not go up. Supposedly, leaves which become very dirty, or let's say a plant is very dirty, at times the stomatal openings will close, the transpiration pull will not be maintained. Now, what do we need to understand here is these leaves which are basically creating water vapor. Where will this water vapor go? Obviously to form clouds. There is almost a huge chunk of water vapor which goes as transpirational pull and forms clouds, and then again forms rain. So it's not just the sea water which forms clouds. It's not the river water which evaporates to form clouds or the water from the ponds or wells. It is mainly the water from the leaves which form vapor to form clouds. So if we cut down trees, then what will happen? This water vapor from the stomatal openings will not reach the atmosphere, and we are going to lose on the rain part. Are we clear on this one, people? Okay. So if cutting these continues, so that is how rainfall is impacted. How is the fertility of the soil decreased? Obviously, if the soil is not getting enough of water, it loses humus content. Microorganisms which are there in the soil, which increase the fertility of the soil, because of availability of water, they will also. Okay. So this is basically the fertility of the soil will reduce. If you look at places which have very high temperature, let's say Rajasthan and all, they will not be fertile. Will not be fertile because constantly they scarcity of water. Because scarcity of the soil, in the soil, there is no microorganisms left, so it becomes a barren land. Okay. So that happens. There will be increased chances of natural calamities as floods and droughts. Okay, floods and droughts. Why does it happen? By deforestation will flood because of bending of. No. Floods happen during rains. Why floods happen? See, if there are trees, these trees will absorb the water. The more the trees are, the more the water. For example, in Mumbai or any coastal area, there are mangroves. Right? It's illegal to cut down mangroves. You know why? Why? So mangroves have roots which are going deep in the soil. Okay, now let's say there is a land and mangroves are here. So in sea water we have high tide and low tide. So there is high tide, so what comes still here. So what will happen? The land will go along with the sea water, but the mangroves, their roots hold the land tight. They will not allow the land to go. Okay, so it's very important for us to maintain these mangroves because these mangroves along with the roots are holding on tight to the soil, because of which soil erosion is not happening. If these mangroves are not able to hold this, or rather if we cut down mangroves, the soil will be exposed to sea water. And then the height has to cut down and then it will be going. So more soil, we will be losing more and more land. If you go places like Mumbai, in Mumbai, Okay, you will see huge boulders of rocks and cement that are being left there, so that the sea water is not able to encroach on the streets. Okay, because sea water will cut down on the land. It will cut down on the land. So if you cut down on trees, it will be exposed to flood waters. Flood waters are which is during heavy rains and all. So what will happen? Obviously, if there are lesser number of trees, it gets exposed and the water goes on. Okay. The layer of atmosphere, see, atmosphere is there to a certain amount of kilometers. Now in atmosphere there is something called as oxygen content and there is something called as carbon dioxide. If you have to cut down trees, carbon dioxide content will increase and oxygen content will decrease. Okay, so it is going to create an imbalance in the atmosphere. Okay, this imbalance will affect our health. Obviously it will affect our health. See, when you go to villages or native places where the amount of pollution is less, you feel fresh. Why? Because there's higher content of oxygen in village areas, and in urban areas where the content is more or carbon dioxide. Okay, so that is one thing out there. Okay, but again, cutting of trees, continuous rainfall for the soil, there will be increased chance of natural calamities such as floods and droughts. So floods and droughts both are likely to happen. First of all, the groundwater levels will go down, and it creates a situation where more of droughts means absolutely dry season. Okay, are we clear on this one? Any questions? Plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So obviously, when we cut them down, what will happen? The percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will increase. Now, understand, carbon dioxide is not poisonous. Okay, it increases the temperature, which causes global warming. And due to this, more of ice and glaciers in the mountains will melt, and sea levels will rise. And we will have less and less place to stay. Already, we only have 30% of land to stay on Earth, and out of this 30%, many are inhabitable. Let's say many are mountains, many areas are deserts, many areas are valleys when we cannot stay. So we have a very small chunk of land to actually stay, and of that land also, if the sea encroaches, then we will have all the more lesser land to stay. Huh? Tundra region is there, much of the land. So there are very cold. Antarctica is there. We cannot stay there, although it is land, but you cannot stay there. These are inhabitable portions. Now, if the sea levels are rising, our percentage of land where we can stay will be all the more less. It will go all the more less. Are we clear? Okay. So plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Fewer trees would mean less carbon dioxide will be used up. obviously less carbon dioxide will be used up, which means that the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is going to rise. Okay, this would result in increased amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What will happen as a result of this? As a result of this, what will happen? The Earth's surface absorbs some of this as solar energy. Okay, so which supports the fertility. By deforestation, all these microorganisms will die. All these are going to get lost. Okay, so deforestation is going to physical properties of the soil get affected by plantation and vegetation. The more there is plantation, the more there is vegetation. Whether you are planting crops or whether there is jungle growth, it will always enhance the quality of soil. The more there is vegetation, the more the soil quality will increase. However, if you happen to make sure that excessive deforestation is happening, then what will happen? The soil quality will be lost. So trees prevent soil erosion. Now trees have roots which go very deep inside the earth. So they will not allow this soil to be washed away by rain, wind or air. They will not allow this soil to go. And it's very important for a place to preserve soil, it should have minimum amount of erosion. The more there are trees in a particular place, the more stronger the roots will be and they will be holding on to the soil, and this soil will not be carried by wind or agents of erosion. Okay, as roots of the hold the soil firmly, they hold the soil firmly, they will not allow this to. Okay, fewer trees result in more soil erosion. More trees go fewer, then see, look at this, how soil erosion happens. There are no trees out here. See, this is the landscape has become. Okay, if there were trees, they would have, the roots would have hit on the soil. But now excessive soil erosion is happening. Okay, the top layer gets washed away by rain or by air or by wind or by storms. Okay, but if we have enough amount of trees, the roots will basically hold on to the soil. The roots will hold on to the soil. Are we clear? Okay. So removal of the top layer of the soil exposes the lower hard and rocky layers. Okay, this soil has less humus and is less fertile. So obviously this has got less humus and it is less fertile. Gradually the fertile land gets converted into deserts. So this fertile land actually gets converted into deserts. Okay, so if deforestation happens on a massive scale, then the fertility of the soil will be lost, and if the fertility of the soil is lost, then obviously it will get converted into a desert. Okay, are we clear on this one, people? Okay, so it's called desertification. So today you might be seeing Rajasthan, you might be seeing a Sahara desert. It's a huge possibility that at one point of time these were fertile lands. Now they have become deserts. What seems like today, maybe some years down the line it will become desert if we don't control the deforestation. Okay. So deforestation also leads to a decrease in the water holding capacity of the soil. So it leads to a decrease in the water holding capacity, because if there are many plants or trees, what will happen? They will hold on to the water content in the soil. If these plants or trees are cut down, then what will happen? The soil gets exposed. So the water holding capacity of the soil decreases. Okay, water holding capacity decreases. The movement of water from soil surface into the ground, that is infiltration rate, is reduced. See, what happens is rain falls on the ground, it percolates to the different layers and moves. But if you have trees, they will hold on to they will hold water at the surface. Okay? The movement of water surface into the ground, that is infiltration rate, is reduced to a huge extent. So there are floods. So obviously there would be floods. Flood means huge amount of water and this can cause serious problems. Okay, this can be a huge threat to life and property. Deforestation also changes other properties of soil, like soil texture, the quality of soil. Okay, this changes because if a lot of deforestation happens, then a lot of microorganisms would die, and this would change the quality of the soil. So soil texture gets lost, nutrient content in the soil, this gets diminished. Okay, we get products from forest, a lot of products actually. Okay, forest, like from forest. Okay, many types of medicines from forest. We get many pulses from forest. Okay, many types of fruits and herbs from forest. Gums, we get gums from forest. Gums are basically, if you come on a tree, there's a gum which is released. If you create a slight cut, even in mango trees, if you create a slight cut, you know that a liquid actually oozes out. This is not blood of the tree, it is actually a waste. Trees do not release waste as we humans or animals. So this is a waste product. Okay, so gums, for example, rubber is a waste product. Rubber is obtained from rubber. They are cut in the night. By the time in the morning you go, there's a ball that is fixed, and this entire ball is filled with this water, with this latex, which is actually converted to rubber. Okay. So rubber is also latex released by rubber. We get many kind of gums from trees. What do we get? We get many spices from forests. Okay, and Asia, particularly India, is famous for spices. For a very long period of time, India and South Asian countries are actually known for the spices. People from far places, spices. Okay? Spices, they increase the taste of food. Sealing wax uh, nowadays this is not used, but it's basically ceiling bags. In olden times, let's say if I had to lock my office, let's say this is a government office, okay? So how do you put a lock? They used to put a lock key, and then they used to put the paper, and then there is to be a lax. This is basically a black colored thing, and they used to stamp it that now it's locked. Okay, so that's a proof that if anything happens, then means that there's some thief that has come or what. Okay? So that is facts. Okay. Then we have medicines. Okay. Many medicines are basically produced in forest. Then we have what? Honey. Honey is produced in forest. Then we have what? Actually, basically jungle fruit. A lot of medicine. Okay. So all these things, we get shortage of these products if we continue cutting trees. So obviously, if we keep on, ruthlessly cutting trees, then the shortage of these products will be there. Okay, we will face a lot of shortage of these products. Okay, conservation of forest and wildlife. So biosphere is that part of the earth in which living organisms exist or which supports life. So what is biosphere? Biosphere is basically that part of the earth in which living organisms live. So living organisms exist on biosphere, and this basically supports life. Okay, that is called biosphere. Okay, biological diversity or biodiversity. Now what is biological diversity or biodiversity? Refers to the variety of organisms existing on earth. So it refers to the variety of organisms that are existing on earth, their interrelationships with the environment, their interrelationships with the environment. Okay, and snow bound regions, these are basically snow bound regions. Okay, so let's say we have different types of environments on earth. Some areas are snow bound, some areas are filled with water, some areas are desert areas. Okay, some are hilly, some are plateau, some are fertile areas. So earth has different biospheres. Okay, their interrelationships with the environment. So let's say snow bound regions. Okay, so if you look into it, there are certain species which are specifically found in these regions. For example, polar bear is found in these regions. These types of trees, like say pine trees, are specifically found in these types of regions. Look at the trees out here. These are not like trees which are bulky in which are found in plain areas. These are trees such that when snow falls on them, it actually falls below. It is not landing on this. Okay, so these are certain modifications. A polar bear can very well survive on this type of a climate because it has got a white coat and it's camouflaged with its environment. You understand what is camouflaging? Camouflaging is it cannot be easily spotted because it hunts its preys, and it has got a white coat, so it will be able to easily hunt. Otherwise, in a white spot, you can easily spot out an animal. So its white coat merges with the white snow, and hence animals which actually it feeds on are not able to locate it. So it is an advantage for it. Plus, the coat is very, very thick. The relationships, so obviously the plants and animals in a particular region get adapted to the climate, to the land sphere, to the environment. That is the adaptations that happen. Okay, let's say if you come on a coastal region, what will you see? We have coconut trees. These coconut trees will not be found in snowy areas. Okay, you will never find them. Okay, what else? Then we have basically cows. These cows cannot be found in places where polar bears are found, because they can easily adapt themselves to these places. Okay, so Wildlife Trust of India, apart from our personal efforts and efforts of the society, government agencies also take care of the forest and the animals. So it's very imperative that all these species be preserved. If the species are preserved, we will be able to maintain an ecological balance. For example, even if one species goes extinct, it is going to impact you. Let's say all of a sudden, if we happen to kill all the frogs, what will happen? What change in your life will be produced? The insects will increase. If insects increase, then you will be facing a problem. All these insects will enter your house. Okay, so any species, if it goes extinct, it is going to impact all other species, and hence the government at a very high level makes efforts. Apart from our personal efforts and efforts of the society, government agencies also take care of the forest and the animals. The government lays down rules, methods and policies to protect and conserve them. So all these are different species, and it takes responsibilities, and it formulates laws as well. Anyone who is going for an illegal hunting of an endangered species can actually be caught. Okay, can be punished by law. Okay, so these are basically endangered species or species which are on the verge of extinction. If you are going into poaching of these animals, or if you are going into hunting for these animals, then you can be caught by government agencies and punished adequately. Are we clear on this one? Okay, okay, okay. So to protect our flora and fauna and their habitat, okay, so protect our flora and fauna and their habitat, protected areas called sanctuaries, national parks and biosphere reserves have been earmarked. So we have basically earmarked them. We cannot enter these areas. Nobody can enter these areas. Okay, all right. So let's say basically these are biospheres. Nobody can do hunting in these areas. You can enter, you can see these animals, okay, but you cannot go for hunting. So rhinoceros reserves have been earmarked. Okay, so plantation, cultivation, grazing, felling trees, hunting and poaching are prohibited here. All these things, plantation, you cannot do agriculture in these places, in these wildlife sanctuaries or reserves which have been kept by the government. You cannot do any sort of cultivation. You cannot take animals out there for grazing. You cannot cut down trees out here. You cannot go for hunting animals out here. Poaching, anybody understands what is poaching? So elephants tusks or their skin, animal skin. So if you hunt animals, okay, one thing is hunting animals for pleasure. Okay, you kill a deer, you feel good about it. Okay, so that is called hunting. Poaching is when you hunt and when you use that animal part to sell it off. So that is called poaching. So all these things are basically prohibited in these places. Okay. So let's say this is basically grazing. You will not be allowed to bring your cattle in these wild areas, okay, which are protected by the government. Poaching is prohibited here. Cutting down on trees is prohibited here. Okay, plantation, cultivation, hunting is prohibited here. Poaching is prohibited here. So all these things are basically prohibited here. Sanctuary, areas where animals are protected from any disturbance to them and their habitat. So these are basically known as sanctuaries. Animals are preserved here and they are protected by the government. Nobody can hunt them, nobody can go for their poaching as well. So these are there. National parks have been built, areas reserved for wildlife where they can freely use the habitats and natural resources. Okay, So these are areas which are reserved for wildlife, where they use the habitat and natural resources. So these are preserved for wildlife. Okay. What else, people? Biosphere reserves. So the biosphere reserves, large areas of protected land for conservation of life, plant and animal resources and traditional life of the tribals living in the area. So these are biosphere reserves. These are very large reserves, and they are well protected. These are well protected. Okay. Biosphere reserves are areas meant for conservation of life. So there are a lot of habitats. There are a lot of animals which are found in specific diversity.